One more panel to go. This panel is going to be talking about in-game advertising, and we're going to be learning from the very best in the industry. So could I please welcome to the stage Chloe from Adverty, Erik from Dodreams, Otto from Fingersoft, and Thomas from Goldtown Games.
Hi guys, I'm Chloe. I'm from Adverty. I'm the Senior Director of Publisher Growth, and as our Chief Supply just made the lovely intro of the format. We're gonna, talk about the practices, any concerns, things like that, and then we would love to make a lot of interactions and take a lot of questions from you as well. So feel free to raise your hand. So I'm gonna start from the introduction. So I'm gonna start from Thomas.
Thank you. So my name is Thomas Jonasson. I work for Goldtown Games, which is a sports management mobile game studio in Sweden. So I am the head of publishing at Goldtown Games.
I have my own. Yeah, hello, I'm Otto. I'm an Ad Monetization manager at Fingersoft and work with games like Hill Climb Racing 1 and 2 and then Boom Cards. For example, and everything that comes to ads goes on my team's table. So I think that's in a short. I have a software engineer background also, so a little bit technical things might be coming too.
Hey folks, my name is Erik. I'm CEO at Dodreams, and at Dodreams we do more than games. We do dreams. And we're the developers of Drive Ahead. It's a gladiator car fight game. You get points by knocking your friend in the head with a car. 225 million organic lifetime downloads, and we get feedback from fans saying, I grew up playing Drive Ahead. It's the best feedback I've ever seen from a fan.
Amazing. So as you can see, we've got amazing panelists today to discuss about in-play. So first question is, what's your experience with in-play? How long have you been using it, and why did you decide to use it? Anyone?
Yeah, I think I could start. Yeah, we are quite young in in-game advertisement in a sense, like in this sense that we have been talking about today. Kind of like we have been using banner ads in Hill Climb Racing 1 for 10 years. So kind of like it's a similar thing. In a sense, but now we wanted to transform the advertisement to 3D world. And well, since Hill Climb Racing games are 2D-ish in currently, so then we started with the Boom Cards game with the in-game advertisement. Boom Cards is a karting game, and it's kind of like obvious that there's in a racing tracks in the real world there are advertisements, and the developers had done actually like fake ads in the game world. So I was like, well, this is like a match made that, well, you should. Why we just don't download the monetizing ads to the game world? And so we started, and kind of like the experience has been so far good. I noticed there's a presentation, there was quite a lot of ads that didn't fit in the game world, and that has been our main concern over there, that we wanted to start with handpicking the ads so that we know that they will fit in the game world, and since the racing is fast-paced, there shouldn't be that much text, which still is one problem. I guess we can go into that a little bit later.
So I can continue from Otto, and same thing with our team and our studio. When we launched Drive Ahead 7 years ago, it's a gladiator arena racing game, gladiatorial arena racing game. So the team put these fake ads into the game to make it feel more authentic. I remember talking then like, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool that, since it's a car game, that someday BMW would be advertising in our game. And you know what, now with Adverty, they're one of the advertisers. So back in the day, the tech didn't exist, and also we didn't have the resources to do these direct deals. And this is what excites me with in-game ads, that now with programmatic, you can have ads from basically any brand in the world in the game, and of course then work with your partner to make sure that they're relevant and good ads for your audience.
Yeah, we started out, I guess, about 18 months ago in one of our titles, which is called World Hockey Manager. World Hockey Manager is a quite a long time title in the market. It's been around for 6+ years. And we are looking really to see, we're opportunists, so we try and find new monetization channels all the time. So what we've done is we start off with an MVP, some billboards in the arena sequence of the hockey games, where it actually adds immersion, I would say, this format, with Adverty. But then also we've done custom deals where we have been the salespeople and reached out to companies like Betway, for example, and done campaigns with them. But primarily we work with Adverty as a provider of native or in-play ads.
Thank you. Yeah, from just a quick note here, I've been personally in the gaming in-game space for over 2 years now, and I've seen a lot more publishers trying this new format, and this is definitely something that I personally love to see. So I want to back up Thor's slide a little bit. So Thor mentioned in his slide multiple times that the integration doesn't really take a lot of time. And what's your experience? Is that true or not true? How long did it take for you to go live?
Well, go for it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so the integration was very, very easy, remarkably easy, I would say, compared to other techniques that we have implemented. Is my short answer.
Yeah, I was so eager to answer because a technical question. So yeah, I think it was easy. Like the implementation, actually we are not using Adverty yet, but might consider. So it was easy in the sense that, of course, you put in the SDK. Only thing is that you kind of put the billboards and ad placements in correct places where you can make sure that the impression is recorded. This is kind of a big technical thing, that how do you record an impression when you are putting the billboards in a racing game. So that is a big question. And so that took a little bit time on quality assurance that they go in the right places so that the impressions will be recorded when the ad is shown.
Well, Otto certainly is the best to answer from the technical perspective. For me, of course, I realize also that adding a new partner, a new SDK in the game can have negative impact, and we do quite closely follow, for example, Android Vitals. In Adverty's case, it wasn't painful, and I remember the team complaining about it, but. And so in that sense, I think the return on investment is great, that it's not something that's going to be a big pain for your team. But it's not also the kind of thing that you just put in the game and you forget that it's going to generate revenue for you. So as Otto mentioned, you work with your partner to make sure that, is there some optimization that you can do on your end for the visibility and work on different placements. So in order to get the best impact, then you have to also invest in this.
Thank you. So can we just dive in a little bit about the performance? Like what kind of overall performance that you're seeing from in-play, from in-game ads, and does it impact your player retention rate? Because that's kind of the most asked question. For me, when I speak to a new publisher, they'll be like, but it's in the game scene, and what if my players don't like it? So what's your experience from that, and what kind of performance that you've seen so far? Are you happy with that?
Well, the thing is that of course the ads are really great for the game because they root the game into the real world, and they do lend some credibility. The brands lend credibility to your game. In the case of Drive Ahead, it's a car fighting game. It's set in the real world, so it's very natural to bring the ads there. Earlier, for example, when we had a partnership with Hot Wheels, so the biggest toy brand in the world from Mattel, I remember some fans writing feedback that I can't believe Hot Wheels knows Drive Ahead. For that kid, it was such a big thing that their childhood favorite toy brand is in the game they love to play now. And so in that sense, I think I've never seen any negative retention impact of having in-game ads there. It's more like it's pretty cool that, that you can have these brands like BMW or maybe like you have an ad from The Simpsons or Mandalorian. You know, it's the stuff that people are watching, and suddenly it appears in the game.
Thank you. All right, so I can only speak for like arena sports games, arena sports media, and so on. The thing is, consumers of modern day arena sports media in general are primed to see ads. If you look at a NHL, NFL, Premier League game, wherever, there's a lot of ads everywhere, and us not having ads in around the perimeter of the game deduces immersion. So it's obviously a good thing for us. In terms of the percentage of revenue that comes from in-play, in total, I would say a few percent in our case. But like Torbjörn said earlier, it varies depending on your game, of course.
Yeah, I could take it from here. Like not a single negative review on like in-game advertisement for us. So, but on the turn side, the thing is that there isn't like. We don't have very good like coverage like globally, so it's like quite limited currently where we have the real in-game advertisement at the moment. But I think to just like to broaden up the inventory, we need like more networks to work with over there. But kind of like as already said here, the revenue isn't that high. You couldn't expect like, okay, let's double our revenue with the in-game ads. It doesn't happen like that. But everything is like a plus. If like you have the basic set of ads, rewarded videos, interstitials, whatnot, then you add on top of those the in-game ads. So it's plus something. It doesn't take anything away if you don't get negative feedback and your retention numbers are good. Nevertheless.
Yeah, I could maybe expand a little bit. So. When you're running a studio as a business, then the question is that, well, what is the size of this loyal, valuable user base we have? So we like to bring up these numbers that make us feel good, that are big, like DAU or something like that. But in reality is that, well, out of this user base we have, what portion do we monetize? And of course, yeah, it's great if you can monetize with them with in-app purchases, and that's certainly something that you should focus on with your development team. But ad revenue and in-game ad revenue is you're selling eyeballs, you're selling views. So it's actually quite predictable revenue. And it's like something that we discussed yesterday with Thomas about monthly recurring revenue, MRR, which, like, if you're talking to investors or different partners, it's the number they're looking for, and rarely game studios can provide that because the subscription model isn't so popular yet in gaming. So that's why I would encourage you to find these steady revenue streams that are going to provide you the baseline revenue. And that's going to allow you to invest in your team, maybe grow the team. Maybe you can hire one new person. Maybe you hire a new developer. And you can you can do more updates for the game. You can start growing your portfolio and so show your partners that we have steady revenue.
Thank you for adding the notes. So if like, because I've known you three for quite some time now, and I've known that you've been digging into this space for quite a while. So my question is, have you tested how many in-play providers have you tested? And if there's any insights that you can share with us and with the audience here?
Actually, if I could start, we have been playing only with one currently because we started quite a short while ago, and that's PitchStack. I can of course say that because you can figure that out from somewhere. Nevertheless, and we've been, like, as I said, that we want to pick the ads which we are showing. So that has been like the feature which we have wanted to have, and kind of like it's been a better experience than I expected. So. We've been happy in a sense. As I said, the global coverage is not that good, but we are working on that and also would like to expand.
Yeah, we work with BizTech and Adverty at the moment, and we sort of use our own waterfall that we took forward for our ad units. But I would say also that revenue from these in-play or native ads providers really vary based on region and seasonality, which is a difference from, for example, rewarded video or interstitials, which work in other ways, and the waterfall is different because of that. So that's a clear difference between the other formats and native or in-play.
We work only with Adverty. We've tried another network before, and I think like when you're choosing a partner, it's important to find the right kind of partner for yourself. So somewhere, let's say that you need to feel that you're important enough for the partner. So does the partner play our game? If I ask for advice and feedback, how responsive are they? If our team needs some support in implementation or optimizing things, like how quickly do they respond? And of course now, because there isn't mediation, often you just want to go with one unless you're able to develop your own waterfall, which of course makes sense if you have that capability and resources. I think like now, you just need to talk to the different partners and try to find someone who's responsive to you, and if you ask them questions, that they actually play your game and they give you feedback, and then okay, this is someone that's going to be good to work with.
Yeah, if I can add quickly about the QA, which I already mentioned, that was a big thing for us. Like, okay, you actually do like a QA for our implementation. It was like not usually networks do that. We had to do our QA by ourselves. So that was kind of like, well, now it's done, like set up, like they would like to have, like they make sure that the impressions are shown. So that was one good thing over there.
Yeah, because personally I've been with 2 different providers, and so for me I've got my personal insights on the performance and the product and how the team works, etc. So if like any of you want to know more about it, like feel free to find me after the panel as well. I'll be happy to share that what I can share and what I know. That's getting to the next question actually. So far, it sounds like, it's great. Incremental revenue, easy to integrate, and it doesn't impact the user retention. Is there any challenges, anything that you've like, not so sure about it from your end?
Well, I think like in-game advertising is currently the little brother of video ads, and it's going to grow up. And if the value proposition is like, hey, that this is really easy to implement, and it's incremental revenue, and then that's not a very strong value proposition. And I'm glad to see now, because with the market development, that now this in-game is growing up and it's becoming more and more important. So we have increased legislation on consumer privacy, and we have limitations to ad tracking, and game studios it's increasingly difficult to launch new games. So you want to grow the game, you want to develop the game with the community, and you need to, in order to do that, you have to have this steady, predictable revenue. So I think everything that happened with video ads is going to happen in-game, but it's going to happen at an accelerated pace. And as a developer, it's true, if it's not such a big hassle, you might want to try to do it early, because then you start learning. Because if you want to grow your business, you're not optimizing revenue, because revenue is an outcome of the actions you took before. You need to optimize the speed of learning. And the only way to learn is to have stuff live in your game, and you have end users engaging with it.
Yeah, I'll say most of the problems with this kind of advertising relates to it being a new technology, but again, as an early adopter, there's a lot of pros to it as well. Like we talked in the last point, the communication that you have with the provider is really a lot better with native ads providers than with other types of ad monetization providers. That said, I think the fill rates, of course, is something that where isn't on par with other technologies yet, but it's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I could add something. Is that what we have been like concerned is that how do the ads fit into our game world, as I mentioned in the beginning, and kind of like what I would look forward like from the networks, for example, to kind of like categorize the games also. That hey, I have a cartoonish game. Yeah, there's the set of cartoonish ads, because in many cases, as I mentioned, there was the presentation just before we arrived at the stage that there were ads that were a little bit out of place, like this ad doesn't like actually fit into this game world, and that's like the biggest fear we have. And if they would be like categorizing like the games, cartoonish, like real world games, sports games, so then it would be easier to like, okay, this game is suitable for these ads. Of course, there might be developers who want to have any kind of ads, but we are very careful on that. So and kind of like we have been limiting, for example, in Boom Cars, that in which tracks we have even the in-game ads, because they are so like out of place in some of like cartoonish snow world, which like doesn't like, okay, there's like some real world person in an advertisement, so it feels like, okay, there should be a snowman, but no, not like a human being over there. So that kind of thing. So also like sharing this kind of use cases that, hey, we have been doing this kind of things, and you could like benefit from like that kind of thing. So it's easier to sell internally, because like in many cases, ad monetization manager's job is to sell kind of these kind of things internally also to the developers, that hey, you don't have to do whatever, but you can do this exact thing, and how it will benefit the game. Well, also the kind of like some kind of calculations and predictions would be nice.
Yeah, for our team, it was super important that the ads have to feel native, and if you take just some ad that maybe was originally intended as a banner ad on a website and you put it on a game, it's going to burn your eyes out. So we spent quite a lot of time working on these shaders so that it would fit naturally into the lighting of an indoor or outdoor arena in the game. And also make sure that it gets registered as a view, because it has to have viewability. And now, of course, we've been told that, okay, like programmatic is the solution to everything, and everything's going to just automatically happen, that you put these placements here and the ads start appearing in the game and you start generating revenue. I don't know, Chloe, you're an expert, so maybe you could tell us and educate us a little bit that what kind of developments are there happening in standardizing this ad format, and are we going to someday have what Otto was hoping, that we could have some impact on like what style of ads there, not just like the ad categories?
It's actually very interesting from my end to say, because my background, so I was on the demand side, now I'm on the supply side, so I can see from both views, and I can see that like brand advertisers definitely want more gaming inventory now, but they don't know more about gaming inventory. They don't know how to buy it. They don't know the audience. They still don't believe, oh, it's women between 25 to 34. They still don't believe that, and they still feel like mobile games somehow aren't premium, like image-wise, and they know it's like the biggest media now, but they don't know enough. And from developers' side, they want more brand ads in the games. So it's very interesting how the in-play in-game format can be the bridge. And regarding the direct and programmatic demand, from my end, I've seen better programmatic ads compared to 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I probably would feel a bit like, a little bit scared to sell like programmatic only inventory to publishers, but now I'm fairly confident, because there are definitely more advertisers know about this format, and then when they do have creatives, they have different sets of creatives for this format. And it also depends on the optimization as well. And so we do see higher fill rates gradually, and Q4 is going to be a great season, as we all know. And also on the direct demand side, there's definitely more brand advertisers look into this space. So I would say the demand is increasing, and we just kind of like need to meet in the middle. And there's definitely new features being developed, but it takes a whole space. Yeah. So for example, like we're talking to the IAB to make sure that there is a separate category for this format. Otherwise, from the open market world, advertisers couldn't really split banners and in-play format. Yeah, so it's happening. But if you have, so we as a provider, we're all talking to other providers. So if you have any ideas, you feel like that should happen, speak to us because we do talk, and then we will push it together to make it happen. Yeah.
I think I'm here because I started throwing these ideas at you at Malmö half a year ago. So.
So that's just another point, right? I'm just happy that we just talk, and then we have these amazing opportunities to talk together. Either we are working together or we are not. Yeah. So next question. You touch a little bit what you should do, etc. So if there is any publishers here, they want to try this format, is there any advice that maybe you made some mistakes and then you wish that you wouldn't do it again when you test this format? Design-wise or A/B testing-wise?
Take it. Yeah. All right. So I don't have the spontaneous answer, but definitely QA is important. We've definitely launched new ad units without properly doing QA. But again, that's a real pro of both Bidstack and Adverty, that we just have a Slack channel directly to the QA department, and it's a very, very easy process to run joint QA, and you should definitely do it before releasing new ad units or updates.
I would say we haven't run into big problems yet, but I think kind of actively coming up with new placement ideas inside the game world. Kind of like we always start with the obvious ones, but kind of like at the same time should also start considering what if we would change this game a little bit from here and there, and so that it would be suitable for ads. It was suitable because the boom cards was suitable because the developers had done already the work, like putting the fake ads over there. But what else we could do so that we could, for example, get more impressions and make sure that the impressions are recorded. So that kind of is ongoing process, and kind of would also want to have some ideas on that, what we should do and how.
Well, if you want to get started with in-game, and actually if you want to survive and maybe preferably thrive in the future market, you have to fundamentally change your approach to this business and game development. So when Chloe and Thor and everybody from Adverty is selling this to the brands, the value proposition is that as a consumer brand, you need to be present where your customers are. So if playing mobile games is important for them, then your brand should be visible there. And we have previously, been talking about performance marketing, how that's the only way to do marketing in gaming. But as I mentioned, increased legislation and consumer privacy and limitations to ad tracking. So the way these ads get sold in-game is different than the performance marketing. So my question is to you is, do you know your audience? And many of you, and we were the same, we said that yes, we do. We know them because we have analytics, and we read ratings and reviews on Google Play and App Store, and then we go to Discord. But we didn't know our audience. We didn't actually know them only until we did in-game surveys with our partner Solsten. We have had almost 10,000 people answer these surveys and tell us what is their motivation to play and pay in games, and also, you know, what apps they use and what brands they consume and what entertainment. So we've been able to, with our partner, create these psychological profiles of like what are the people really like. You know, not just their demographics, that where they come from, but like what they like and value and how they think. And this is the information we can give to Chloe and the team, that hey, that we have people who behave in this way, and these are their values, and these are the apps and the TV shows and Netflix shows they follow, and this is the information that the brand advertiser needs. So if you can't really say, if you just say that, okay, it's a racing game, a little bit cartoonish, it doesn't give any information for the brand to decide that is this the right match for us, because they want to know the psychographics. Like, what do these people actually think and do?
Yeah, definitely echoing that, because when advertisers buy, because they don't know much about gaming inventory, so they want to buy by game, by genre, as Erik mentioned, but that's so wrong, because you don't know the real audiences behind the games. So what we are pushing right now on our side is we tell the agencies, we tell the advertisers, we can give you the segments, you know, who do you want to target? Forget about the titles, forget about the genres. So that's what we are doing right now. So if you can know more about your audiences, the segments, and then if you are happy to share with us, that's going to make our life easier as the bridge. So Otto, you've got something to add?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add that the biggest mistake we can do is that to think that players play just like we are playing. We are playing totally differently our games than our users are playing, so we shouldn't make any design choices by, okay, I don't like the advertisements in the game, so I don't put them in the game. Kind of like that kind of things, which I sometimes hear. So that's the biggest mistake you can make. So do as Erik said, that take the data and the surveys and make the decisions by the data.
Yeah, what I would add is, if you do want to test in playing game ads, speak to your providers, because there's tons of ways to do A/B testing. Either you want to roll out to a certain percentage of the users in certain geos, different games, testing multiple providers at the same time. There's tons of different ways. So yeah, discuss it with the provider, and then we can always come up with the best ideas together to move forward. Okay, I'm gonna ask the next. Okay, we don't have much time left, so I wanna bring up kind of like the most important question, and the question that I want to ask the most. So the Google new restrictions are around the corner, so it's this Friday, right? So do you think that's gonna affect how you monetize your games? Are you scared? What kind of outcome you predict to see? Things like that?
I could start. I'm not scared if the Google's restrictions what are there I would say that they have always been there, but now they're just like taking a look at, like, are you following these guidelines, and if the ads in a game are done by the book, so I wouldn't be scared. So I guess these mostly are for the interstitials, and showing the interstitials where they are supposed to be shown, you shouldn't be worried about anything. And kind of like taking it to the in-game advertisements, I would say that, well, they can also be done wrong. So kind of like taking good care of like your game, like it's done as it like should be done, so you shouldn't be worried about it.
Yeah, I've only worked in mobile games for 4 years, something like that, and since I started, we had a lot of killer initiatives. IDFA, for example, everyone got into a big depression for a few months there and thought, oh, this is it for mobile games. But I don't think this is the case with this change either, as it wasn't for that, because it's all about being being opportunistic and being someone who looks out for new opportunities. So if revenue goes down, it may do for some people initially who have more than like 15-20% of their revenue coming from advertising, or specifically that type of advertising. But in the longer term, likely we will overcome, I would say.
Well, nobody here wants to sell people something they don't want. We don't want to force something on people. So I think that's kind of like the mentality that you have when you design the monetization, that we have these different monetization approaches and we want to have a good solution that's right for our game, right for our audience, and that's going to allow us to, players are going to be happy. They get to progress faster, they're going to get more fun faster, and with this revenue we can invest in our team and invest in our games.
So do you predict like revenue dip initially from Friday? Yes?
For those that are dependent on we're like 90% IAP, 10% ads, so in our business model. So for us, it's not as important for us for other people. You always keep a lookout for the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think the answer is no. Not any hits, and I would say that I wasn't worried about then that much, and I would still think that the money is still over there, like in the market. It doesn't go anywhere. It's like how it's spread and how it's like going into different projects and different titles. That's the different thing. But the whole like marketing money, it finds its way, and kind of like it will be there. So I'm not that worried about. Also, like the new legislations, it's also for the users' good, and we will find a way.
Yeah, just make sure that whatever partners or whoever partners you're working with, that you comply with what they ask for, and I try to have this long-term perspective in like how do we want to position the games, what market do we want to be in, so that guides us when the features and the content we develop, and you're growing the audience and growing the game on the long term. And this kind of like these stuff, then you just adopt to along the way.
Thank you for the sharing. It's definitely very interesting because I've thrown the questions to different publishers as well, and it sounds like, I don't have the accurate number, but it sounds like publishers who have got more hyper casual titles are probably more worried. So they are doing some preparations for it, so probably definitely adjusting their monetization stacks, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting to hear from like different perspectives. Yeah. We've got some time left, so is there any questions?
Come here.
Question for the panel here. So I think we all know that rewarded video help with player retention. Do you feel like in-game ads helping the retention as well?
Maybe
let's repeat the question for Chloe once she gets the headset.
Oh, sorry.
Just one second. You take this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry.
So Chloe, my question was, rewarded video help with player retention. So do the panel feel like it's also helping, in-game ads also helping with the player retention?
Well, we've definitely seen, we've done some tests before, and with like different groups as well. And we've actually seen slightly higher retention rate from the group that see more ads, which is very interesting. But I would say every game is different. That's why I really encourage publishers, if they have time, run tests, because you really don't know. And I can't really just sit here and say, try this, it's going to be definite. We really, really, really don't know, especially we live based on data. So that would be my answer. But from what we see and from what publishers tell us, we really don't see like retention impact from this format.
Yeah, I guess I think the answer might be also that if the ads fit in the game world, you won't see any drop in the retention. So kind of like it's natural that they are there. Like for example in the racing games and sports games.
Yeah, fully agree.
Brilliant. So we still have time for a couple more questions. So I'll just come here.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. It's really good. I'm just wondering, like, how do you measure the performance for these ads? Because I'm assuming that the advertisers want to know how the ads perform, and I'm assuming that the game company has to figure out where to place the ads so they perform well. I'm just like, I don't know anything about the pragmatic side of this. So can you talk a little bit about that? Thank you.
I'll take this one. I've got these questions a lot actually. So 95% of the ads are from brand advertisers. So they always ask for viewability. That's something we can track for sure. And some advertisers want CTRs. They just want clicks. But that's kind of like conflicting to this format, right? So that's our job to go back to educate, say, hey, it's brand awareness. So if you see a billboard on the street, do you want them to click that? Not really. Yeah, so viewability. So Erik actually mentioned as well. So make sure the ads, the billboards are seen in your game for over 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah.
So does anyone else have any questions that they'd like to ask our panelists? No? Okay, so of course, if you have any other thoughts or questions or you want to meet our lovely panelists, you can catch them around the venue or connect with them via Meet to Match or LinkedIn. I'm sure they'll give you their details and you can happily chat away and learn more about their wonderful insights. Can we have a round of applause for our amazing panelists for today, please?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.